Thank you for joining us today. I am Assistant Chief of EMS Eric Zaney of the Carroll County Department of Fire and EMS. It is my pleasure on behalf of the Chief and the command staff of the department to welcome you to this opportunity to celebrate a story of survival and the people involved. Before we go too far, I would like to welcome and thank the following representatives for their support and taking time to join us. From Carroll County Board of County Commissioners, Commissioner Tom Gordon. From Carroll County Government, County Administrator Roberta Winham. From the Carroll County Department of Fire and EMS, Chief Michael Robinson. Deputy Chief of Operations Paul Subko, and Assistant Chief of Training, Health and Safety Dennis Brothers. From the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Butos. From the Westminster Police Department, Captain Peter and Acting Captain Blackwell. From the Carroll County Hospital Emergency Department, Joseph Brown, RN, Shara Becker, Nurse Manager, Jessica Dell, Executive Director. Of course, the staff from the Texas Roadhouse, and from our Carroll County 911 Center, Carl Lussick. He was the call taker for this emergency response. Ashley Bergen, Amanda Poor, and Adam Paris. Again, thank you for joining us. The nationally recognized EMS Week for 2025 is May 18th through the 24th. Since 1974, EMS Week has been a time to recognize the men and women who deliver life-saving care when it's needed most. Now, in its 51st year, EMS Week 2025 carries the theme, Honoring Our Past, Forging Our Future, reminding us of how far we've come and the lives we continue to impact. Today, we bring that mission to life by honoring a patient, his family, and those actions made survival possible. On March 29, 2025, Mr. Corey Weaver and his family were leaving Texas Roadhouse after dinner. As he entered the parking lot, Mr. Weaver suddenly fell unconscious between cars. Responding to calls for help and the report of a man in cardiac arrest, Texas Roadhouse manager Rebecca Penningham and assistant manager Stephanie Poole acted quickly to retrieve a company-owned automatic external defibrillator, AED, and come to the aid of Mr. Weaver. They found Mr. Weaver unconscious, not breathing, and pulseless, immediately initiating CPR and ensuring 911 was called. The AED was applied and ongoing effective CPR underway. A shock was delivered from the AED. The heroic actions of Miss Pennington and Miss Poole were the first linkages in the chain of survival that would result in a life saved and a father, fiance, and son returning home to his family. If it were not for the quick action, courage of training in a moment that mattered most, Mr. Weaver may not have had the miraculous outcome that he did. We would like to introduce Mr. Corey Weaver, who was the patient who fell into cardiac arrest on March 29th. It is an absolutely our pleasure to host him as he has the opportunity to meet those who were critical links in his chain of survival. Thank you for joining us. Your presence here today will be the core memory for many of those you will meet and be a lasting reminder of the good that can result from our dedication to our craft and high standards. I would now like Mr. Weaver to join Chief Michael Robinson, Director of Fire and EMS, to present the Texas Roadhouse managers, Miss Pennington and Miss Poole, with the department's civilian citation. Would Rebecca please step forward? And Stephanie, thank you.
Okay, as Chief Zaney stated, this is truly a momentous occasion. Many of us in the audience have been doing this for a number of years, and in the last probably 10 years, we've really brought the chain of survival together. Here in Carroll County, we have a very active automatic defibrillator program. Our first responders, which include our fire and EMS personnel, but equally important are our law enforcement partners. And the fact that we had people trained here at the Texas Roadhouse really brings everything full cycle. And Mr. Weaver was very fortunate that he stopped here at a restaurant in Carroll County, because in Carroll County, as you see today, the chain of survival is self-evident. So without further ado, we have a citation to present to Rebecca Pennington and Stephanie Poole, and the citations say the same. I'm going to, as a matter of the importance of this event, read what the citations say. Carroll County Department of Fire and EMS civilian citation is presented to Rebecca Pennington and Stephanie Poole of the Texas Roadhouse of Westminster, Maryland, for efforts in the saving of a life in the course of an emergency, therein embodying the core values of the Department of Fire and EMS, and thereby deserving of commendation. For immediate bystander intervention, life-saving implementation of CPR and a nearby AED, and critical activation of 911 that directly contributed to the survival of a cardiac arrest victim on March the 29th, 2025. While working at the Westminster, Texas Roadhouse, employees Rebecca Pennington and Stephanie Poole immediately came to the aid of a patron who had collapsed in the parking lot. Without hesitation, they initiated CPR and retrieved the restaurant's AED. A shock was delivered promptly and 911 was contacted. Their swift and composed actions established an essential chain of survival prior to the arrival of emergency responders. Carroll County Sheriff Sergeant Bustos arrived and assumed compressions under physically constrained conditions. Then, assisted by Westminster police officers Ede and Ray, moments later, Department of Fire and EMS personnel on Medic 38, Engine 31 out of Westminster, our EMS ALS chase car EMS 101, and our shift commander Ops 101 arrived and initiated advanced life support care. With proficient and effective interventions in place, return of spontaneous circulation was achieved, and the patient was transported to the LifeBridge Carroll Hospital Emergency Department with a viable pulse. The patient would later be discharged from the hospital. The actions of Rebecca and Stephanie were instrumental to the survival of this fiancé, brother, and father of 3 children. They exemplify the profound impact that civilian responders can have during a life-threatening emergency. Their performance reflects great credit upon themselves, their organization, and the broader community. The service and contributions of Ms. Stephanie Poole are exemplary and representative of the best values of citizens of Carroll County. They are deserving of recognition by the Department of Fire and EMS of Carroll County. So on this 21st day of May 2025, I first call upon Rebecca Pennington. So Rebecca, if you will come forward, let me separate the awards. We're good. So Rebecca, we'll turn around for a photo moment. Here's the papers. Congratulations, you're still up there. Great work.
Thank you.
And now I'm not going to repeat that dissertation a second time, but the next employee, I'm going to make a note. The next employee is Stephanie Poole, BSN RN. And I'll let you know that the Carroll County staff has applications for employment over here, in case you're interested. So, Stephanie, if you'll step forward. I don't want to put you on the spot. You want to say anything? Up to you. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Corey Weaver. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I don't remember much of what happened, but I just want to say this. All I can say is thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you, Stephanie, and all whoever helped. Just thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'll make a quick comment on it on behalf of Commissioner Gordon. Is politicians don't always get the positive credit that they deserve. But those of you that are Carroll County residents, if you look back just about 4 short years ago, we had a very factionalized emergency services delivery in Carroll County. And today, what do we have? We have 16 ALS units staffed around the clock, 24/7. We have the highest echelon of ALS care. We just began carrying whole blood this past week. We have integration with our law enforcement partners, certainly with our 911 center. And behind the scene, I have a lot of good bosses that make sure I'm leading in the right direction. So putting all that together, you all can be justifiably proud of how we do things in Carroll County. So again, we want to recognize our true heroes and our chain of survival here today. And now I'll turn it back over to Chief Zaney.
So again, thank you for joining us for the standards your organization that supports employees like these managers have made a tangible and an amazing contribution to our community. Once again, to the Carroll County 911 Center, for the communications staff there. If it's not for them taking that call and directing the EMS crews and providing pre-arrival instructions, we're kind of lost here at Fire and EMS, so thank you to them. Following Mrs. Pennington and Mrs. Poole initiation of CPR and first shock with the AED, Carroll County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Carlos Butos responded to the scene and recognizing the call, dispatch, and his proximity to the emergency. He arrived immediately and assisted the 2 civilian responders continuing CPR despite being confined by parked cars. He made due to deliver effective compressions and a second shock via the AED. And arriving in the same fashion was Westminster Police Patrolman First Class Jonathan Ray and Officer Nicholas Ide, followed by Sergeant Brutos on scene, and added to the responder hands coming to aid for Mr. Weaver. The officers assisted in moving Mr. Weaver from between the vehicles, continuing CPR and delivering a third shock prior to the arrival of our EMS units. I would like to now introduce Carroll County Sheriff Sergeant Carlos Butos and the Westminster City Patrol First Class Jonathan Ray and Officer Nicholas Ide. You guys can raise your hand if you'd like. Let us know. I won't have you walk up here. It was an honor of the Department of Fire and EMS to present the sergeant and officers with life-saving ribbons at our inaugural Department of Awards event on April 29th. Thank you for your collaboration in serving our communities. We rely on effective partnership that exists between our agencies. The public safety teams that we represent as a whole is a true benefit to Carroll County. Continuing on here, after the third shock by the AED delivered by law enforcement, EMS and fire units began to arrive in quick succession. Medic 3-8 followed by Engine 3-1 arrived first. They would initiate the first advanced life support interventions for Mr. Weaver. While continuing CPR, this care included cardiac monitoring, pharmaceutical interventions, airway control and ventilation, and additional cardiac defibrillations to the right conditions that had jeopardized Mr. Weaver's life. With the arrival and assistance of OP 101 and EMS 101, the advanced cardiac life support algorithm was implemented with the proficiency and effectiveness indicative of the high standards of our department that our department strives to uphold. Their care ultimately resulted in return of spontaneous circulation for Mr. Weaver. His chain of survival included the early activation of the 911 system, immediate high-quality chest compressions, and the earliest possible introduction to an AED and the electrical cardiac intervention. And I think that's one thing to note. You're not going to find many restaurants with AEDs in place, so kudos to Texas Roadhouse on that. The response of nearby trained responders to continue effective compressions and continued use of the AED and the expedited arrival of EMS to initiate advanced cardiac care, Mr. Weaver's heart has restarted in a persistent and life-sustaining rhythm. Care to promptly switch to post-cardiac arrest treatments as Mr. Weaver was transported on Medic 38 to the LifeBridge Carroll Hospital Emergency Department with ongoing life-saving interventions completed throughout the several-minute ride. It is my honor to now introduce you to the fire and EMS personnel who provided the next link in the chain of survival. From Medic 38, Firefighter Keith DeMora, Firefighter EMT Lorda Bombach. If you two could step up, please. Thank you. From Engine 3-1, Lieutenant Eric Boston, Fire Apparatus Driver Operator Kyle Stahl, EMS Lieutenant Natalie Leopard, and Firefighter EMT Duncan Christensen. If you guys can come up, please. From EMS 101, Firefighter Paramedic Joshua Myers, and riding on board as an observer that day was Firefighter EMT Caitlin Scott. And from Ops 101, Captain Max Nicky. Again, it was our honor to recognize each of these fire and EMS responders with the department's life-saving rhythm in the department's inaugural award event. It is a rare but monumental moment in our career that we get to meet the patients we have impacted so greatly. We do not know most of the outcomes, but we take quite solace in the thought that our actions have benefited the communities. Moments like this one today act as fuel to our mission and heal the wounds of difficult incidents or the scars of traumatic events we stubbornly bear and seldom shake. Thank you for joining us in that sacred moment that we can tangibly experience the good done for a life and those connected to it. The final link is Mr. Weaver's chain of survival was established by definitive care. As Medic 38 with EMS clinicians on board continued their care sped towards Carroll Hospital's emergency department, the emergency physicians and ER staff who would receive Mr. Weaver readied their battle stations. As EMS clinicians, we trust in moments like this that a finish line exists in the form of our receiving facility. We push our skills to expel every effort in a concentrated volley of interventions meant to deliver a patient with an increased chance of survival and positive prognosis. Inside the ER doors, we trust in finding a team of familiar faces who are the extension of our team, ready to continue the same efforts and save a life. Following Medic 38's arrival at Carroll Hospital Emergency Department, staff did exactly that. They interlocked with EMS to transfer Mr. Weaver quickly into the ER room. Under the nurses, techs, respiratory therapists, physicians, specialists, Mr. Weaver's treatment continued. After being treated in the ER with deliberate care to sustain the patient's rebounding vital signs and beating heart, Mr. Weaver was taken to the cath lab, evaluated, and moved into observation, continued treatment, and recovery. The last link in this chain of survival saw Mr. Weaver awake, talking, and without neurological deficit on March 30th, the day after his sudden cardiac arrest. We would like to thank the members of the Carroll Hospital Emergency Department who played such a critical role in Mr. Weaver's treatment, recovery, and eventual discharge home to his children's, fiancé, and family. Say hi, guys, and let them know where you're at. After all this was said on our part, we have had the opportunity to meet him and shake his hand and would like to offer Mr. Weaver a chance to say a few words, which he already did, so I will not bring him up here again unless he has something he'd like to say. So I speak confidently on behalf of all those who were involved in the response to this emergency that it has been our pleasure to meet and shake your hand. You are a shining example of what good our efforts can do in the community and stand as a reminder in our most challenging moments that keeping the course of high standards, proficient care, and compassion towards our patient and their families has had a positive, meaningful impact on those we serve. Last but certainly not least, our department not only exists because of the efforts of our members and partners across the folds of emergency response. I would like to offer the final words to Commissioners Tom Gordon, District 3, and our Carroll County Board of Commissioners. Their support for the Department of Fire and EMS has been real and substantial impact not only in this success story, but the implementation of leading-edge interventions and advancement in EMS care delivered in Carroll County. Thank you, Commissioner Gordon, for being an ardent supporter of fire and EMS. Please step up.
Mr. Weaver, it is an absolute pleasure to meet you. I'm glad you're doing well, and this is what this is all about. You know, we talk about what we've done over the last couple years with fire EMS, and you know, you're a shining example of what we can do as a community together. You know, partnering with individuals, with corporations, the hospital, and this is what Carroll County does best: is we take care of people, whether it's people that live here, people passing through, but just people. And I just can't tell you how happy I am to see you today, and I'm glad you're doing well. And thank you to everybody for all the hard work and looking out for you. Thank you so much, sir.
As this event closes our event, we continue into EMS Week 2025. Thank you for joining us today for this great opportunity. We ask everyone to be safe. If there's any questions or additional information you would like to obtain, we'll be available following. And again, thank you for joining us. Thank you.